thing that if we go back to Tuesday's episode, I do think we've had a really healthy discussion on all of this. The addendum that I would add is I really don't think the fight over 30% is irrelevant, or that it's just a case of big companies fighting over how to split a bunch of zero margin revenue. Like, to me, I don't want to get too abstract with everything, but alongside Apple's IP claims and the property rights discussion, the reason 30% is ridiculous is because a fundamental principle of a healthy market is that the market functions best when an entrepreneur who's creating value is entitled to a return that's like proportional to the value that's being created. And so Apple may have created the App Store and they continue to maintain it, but Apple has realized proportional returns on all those investments. And Apple is not creating 30% worth of value for every app in the App Store, let alone doing that on a recurring basis with every transaction.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're like, oh, we helped people discover your app. No, that's what Facebook did, right?
Right.
It's like, no.
Or that's what my ad money did.
Let me add to my point. I not only don't like Apple's policy of the App Store, I think they're clearly like taking way too much. It's not a competitive rate at all. It would not be sustainable in an open market, not in the slightest. And now I actually think it might be competitive in games, by the way. That's one of the reasons why I'm more okay with games. I think that a lot of games, there's a monetization aspect. You're in the moment. You're trying to solve this puzzle. And you just need X, Y more credits or whatever it might be. And to have that one click super fast go through, like there is sort of a conversion issue, right? Like this is measured with any sort of e-commerce site. Like every every tiny bit of friction leads to huge drop off in conversion. If you have to go to the website, if you create an account, log in, you have time to think, what am I doing? Why am I about to spend $10 on gems? Right? Whereas like the seamless is the App Store.
In the mirror. Yep.
No, that's probably like not a great value add from like a societal perspective, but I think there is lots of cases where it's a pretty significant one. But no, there's no way like for lots of things this is sustainable. And
right. Well,
and so, also the innovation's been crappy. It took till 2016 or 2017 to get subscription support. There's still no support for paid upgrades. Like we are seeing, it's a classic example. Anyone who has to deal with the finances of the App Store, it's a big, on one hand, they take care of all the multi-currency stuff in all the countries. That is a real value add. On other stuff, as far as reporting and keeping track of stuff and the capabilities, drastically inferior to what, say, a Stripe offers, right? And you have to balance two systems. It'd be so much easier to just have one. Like there's so many things that are wrong, and the reason why this rate is not reasonable, and it in a competitive environment it would be lower. What we have to press to, though, is we have to get away from I don't like this, it's wrong, XYZ, and get down to nuts and bolts of how, if you want to change it, how do you change it, and what does that entail? What it entails is making a declaration, legislatively or otherwise, that yes, you created this, but no, you don't get to monetize it however you please. It's too important. And because of that, we are going to, despite the fact you created it, we are going to restrict your rights to control what you created. And we're going to, from the top, mandate what you can collect, what you can rate. And again, I'm in favor of that. Apple has pushed us to this spot where I don't like the idea of a government body coming in and dictating how Apple does this, but Apple's forced us to this position.
Yeah, well, Apple's a public company too. They're not going to sacrifice any of this services revenue. And long-term strategy, it's an open question as to whether that's the right decision, because I'm sure it's going to invite all kinds of extra scrutiny into other business practices of theirs that they probably don't want to be talking about in public. But I think short-term, they've made their position clear, and the next steps are going to be government regulators hopefully doing a better job than the EU has done with everything it's tried to regulate over the last 10 years or so. I just don't want to create the impression. Okay.
Yeah, just to add to your point too. I mean, there's all sorts of costs, like developer angst, developer costs, like the whole thing of Apple building all this stuff for the EU and having no idea if it's going to be okay or not. That's what developers deal with all the time.
Yeah,
is this the time we're going to
Vision Pro?
Yeah, but I mean, there's so. Look, you at the end of the day, I have to take the arrows with these emails. I'm going to do my best to tell you what I think is going on, not what I wish it were or were not. I'll try to add both, but I'm trying to distinguish between the two.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to create the impression that app developers are emotional or somehow immature about all this or not seeing the full picture. They're business owners fighting for their rights to do business in a fair and rational marketplace. And eventually it will get there. Apple is not going to be able to keep this 30% charade going forever.